Hey, this is Brittany Wagner with Last Chance U, and you're listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports.
SportsRadioDetroit.com.
We got the equipment and the perfect business plan. Give our show away for free and tell no one how to find it. Ready?
You actually have to contribute.
Wow. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Send a couple tweets, Dave.
You know what?
Get the job done.
You know what, guys? You're welcome for every guest ever.
Darren McCarty will be joining us to talk about, I don't know, what the fuck ever. If Mickey Redmond hadn't chosen hockey as his profession, he would undoubtedly be a lumberjack.
True. Absolutely true. Or he would have played one on TV.
I must have been bombed.
You were very bombed.
Because I don't remember that at all.
Was she a good sport about it? Did she enjoy your antics?
Yeah, she giggled a little bit.
Yeah, and she's a nice gal.
Yeah! Welcome. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Mike Tripp, and myself, Dan Griffin, invading your ear hole, as always, on SportsRadioDetroit.com. And if you've heeded, is that a word, heeded my words, thank you for swapping over from the Out of Bounds Detroit Sports iTunes feed to somewhere on Sports Radio Detroit. Just go download Podbean. Or I'm saying it like Roger now. Podbean. He says beam with an M on the end, as in man.
Well, yeah. The problem is that's probably an app too, somewhere in the stratosphere.
It's
Podbeam.
It's Podbean.
I don't think it's going to be the same thing.
N is in nipple. It's just one of those words Roger gets wrong. We all have those words. Like mine's. We've been over this. Mine's president. I struggle with that word. I can't get it out unless I slow it down. Otherwise, I sound like I'm hammered. President.
I love Roger, but Roger struggles with English at times.
He does. He does, especially with names.
English is his second
But
language,
that's why
right?
on Tigers SRD, it's awesome because he's got C. Breezy to correct him whenever he needs name pronunciation. Because Roger knows what he's talking about when it comes to baseball. He just gets the name wrong a lot.
You know what really
My
makes
favorite
me
thing
laugh?
is that
Yeah.
Roger is a Latino man,
Uh-huh.
and he can't get the Latin names right.
I was going to say exactly that same thing. That kills me every time.
It's great. But it's one of Roger's quirks. It's like you liking fat chicks. It's that bit.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, thank you for joining us on SportsRadioDetroit.com, and you can find Sports Radio Detroit's podcast feeds all over the damn place. Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, as N is in nipple, iTunes. It's all over the place. I still don't have my shirt yet. We're going to get that in probably just a few days. I don't know. I'll probably see Roger soon. But I did notice that there was a big portion of Thursday's show that we never made it to. It was like the number one topic on my list, and we just never got there.
We can talk about several things.
That's true.
I don't know what we accomplished on Thursday.
We didn't accomplish much. It was not good. Other than that kid, that ball boy smashing into the wall. That sound still makes me die.
It sounds like a gunshot.
You still have it?
I mean, I could probably find it pretty easily.
Because I'd like to hear it again. Mike, have you heard this thing yet?
I'm sure I can find it pretty easily.
Oh, but wait a minute. Don't watch the video, Mike. I want Mike to hear the sound
first
before he sees the video, because in my opinion, the sound is so much more funny than the video itself. You did share it on
It's super easy to find
on the Twitter feed right here.
I didn't even
need
go
an
to
adapter.
ours.
I got you one.
I got it. I always have mine.
We're just having a show meeting as we get Dave's phone set up to play this incredible audio that I can't believe Mike hasn't seen this.
All right, cue me up. You ready?
Are you ready to go? You're good.
It's so loud. right, Mike.
All right,
Now the
play
second
again.
time. Do you want to see it, or do you want to hear it one more time?
I want to hear it one more time. I'm closing my eyes. I'm just trying to.
It's the best
Is this
sound
a
ever.
tennis match? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's listen to the beginning.
Jesus.
It's like a bomb went off.
All right, we're
Yes.
going to get to enjoy hearing it one more time because now Mike gets to watch
You
it.
just got to watch it.
His leg just buckles.
Bam!
But he's so smooth about the recovery.
Oh yeah, the player looks back at him like,
And he's just
slowly turns his head.
Oh my God.
he's like when the guy looks back, he's doing like the owl head swivel. He's like just look like kind of just moving his neck and nothing else. It's ridiculous.
It's like
so funny.
it's like the look you give your dog in the middle of the night when you're sleeping and all you hear is
Yeah, and they're always doing something.
I want to kill one of our dogs that does that while he's sleeping.
it's such a
Or
gross sound.
I'm getting to bed because one of the dogs will stay up with me, and then when I go to bed, I bring Riley as well, and he lays in his bed, and then it's just
Yep.
for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, Riley, stop, and
I get the double whammy too because I don't know about Bristol, Dan, but Sienna is like a legit snorer. It's bad, like she snores bad.
Oh, Bristol has nightmares and she like squeals in the middle of the night like
Okay.
she's chasing something.
Sienna will do that every once in a while.
Let's hear.
Yeah,
That's actually, I think that's a pretty close impression.
not bad. Take that act on the road.
Oh man. Anyway, the topic we never made it to on Thursday was the settlement that Michigan State University paid out to the 300 plus Larry Nassar victims.
Right.
One of which we should be having on the show here relatively shortly. She actually emailed me today. My friend Abby, that I talked about being on the show a while ago, but she was nervous because there was still civil litigation going on. But now that there's a nice settlement coming her way, she's good to be on the show.
that is a nice settlement.
$5 bazillion.
I feel like that's still too low.
Half a billion. $500 million paid out to roughly a little over 300 total victims. So it came out to what the fuck does that come out to?
If it was
$500 million divided by 300.
that's 1.
It was like
1.66.
Yeah. As an average, but
Sure, as an average.
It's not going to be split up evenly. That's the thing with these types of scenarios.
Sure.
Some are going to get more, some are going to get less.
As an average, 1.6 million per victim is what we're looking at here.
I'll tell you what, as the litigators, that would be such a tough spot to be in to have to decide. And I understand that there are going to be stipulations to who gets what. As unfair as it sounds, it's just one of those things. Not everything is the same. And it's going to come down to certain things like how young was the victim when they were first victimized? How long did the abuse go on for? Was it a one-time thing, or was there multiple upon multiple occasions of this occurring to this individual? So, some of the ones that we've heard a lot about are probably going to be some of the ones that are going to get the most money.
Yeah, you're going to look at Michaela Maroney and a few other
she's already been paid out though too. She'll get some out of this, I would assume. Well, no, she won't get any out of this one. This is separate from her for that, because that's going to have to be dealing with the
Michaela Maroney got paid out for a non-disclosure agreement until they recognized that that non-disclosure was fucking illegal. So she'll get some more cash.
What I don't understand in relation to that, though,
what's
is
fucked up? Let's just say literally every victim gets 1.6 million. Let's say the average just plays out and everybody gets that much. Still not enough.
No.
Not in my eyes. It's not enough. And here's the other thing. Here's how you know that it's not enough. Because Michigan State University could take cash that's been set aside for projects that are barely in the works and have more than enough to pay these victims. But at the same time, Dave, you were the one who led me onto this. The way Michigan State University is going to pay this settlement is fucking absurd. Tuition costs, as well as them trying to procure state aid. Michigan State University totaled $859 million last year just in tuition revenue. That's just the tuition that was already paid. But now there's talk of, we're hiking tuition prices maybe a little bit. How?
Well, that sounds bad in the light of this situation, but that's tuition costs going up isn't an abnormal thing. It's bad in this light.
How callous can you be, though? Because if I'm a father of a 17-year-old girl right now, there is not a chance in hell she's going to Michigan State University. Not a chance in hell after what I've seen. And now your interim president is openly coming out and saying tuition costs may have to cover some of this. So what you're telling me is if I go to send my child to Michigan State University, at least a small portion of my money is going to be used to pay for something that a child molester did? No, sir. Fuck that. Not a chance in hell. Especially when you were a school that raised $2.9 billion in total revenue in 2017. Half a billion? Oh, yeah. That's a nice chunk. But you can afford it. And I know you can afford it. And you should fucking afford it. I don't know. Here's an idea. Maybe don't give people like Luana K. Simon the ridiculous severance package that you did.
That would also have to be litigated out, though.
Of course.
In all fairness, because that was part of a contract that was signed.
But do you see Michigan State taking those steps toward making that happen? No. You know why? Because they can afford it. They can afford what they gave Luana K. Simon. That's why they're not fighting it. If they can afford that, they can afford this and more.
Yeah, I'm not.
College is already a ripoff.
I'm not going to pretend to know every financial loophole or otherwise that Michigan State has, but I kind of speculated from the very beginning that this was, depending on how high the payout got, before the terms were met last week, I kind of assumed that tuition would be a part of it. It just, from a common sense standpoint, when you look at everything, that writing was just on the wall that was going to happen. I just mean, not that it's right, but I just didn't see a scenario where that wasn't going to be part of the payment.
But it shouldn't come out of the commission, the tuition for incoming students. You've already turned a massive profit on your tuition over the last 30 years. How do I know that? Because it's gone up like something like 400 times faster than inflation. I know you've made a nice killing on that tuition. This money should be coming out of those fucking profits. This money should be coming out of the money that you have set aside for projects that aren't even started yet. I don't know. Here's an idea. Maybe let's put those fucking projects on hold and take care of this first. We have an institution that is so callous as to come forth and say, oh, yeah, some of this is going to come from tuition money. That's a situation where you just make no comment. But right from the beginning, Michigan State just continues to make this thing look uglier and uglier and uglier. Just when you think they can't do with that anymore, They find another way to make this whole fucking situation worse. Your T-shirt makes me sick right now, David Face. I can't help it. This is what this school represents to me now. And at every turn, with a chance to make things just a little bit less shitty. Every time they have that chance, they fail. They fail to make it less shitty, and they make it more shitty. They fail to even hold the status quo of shittiness. They always manage to make it more a shittier situation even shittier.
I don't know if we're ever even going to know where the money actually winds up coming from, to be honest. We probably won't. We will probably never know exactly where it comes from.
Well, I can tell you as a state university, especially since they're going for state aid for this, it's coming out of my pocket and your pocket and your pocket,
Mike.
Mike.
State's not going to give them any aid.
You'd hope not.
That's not going to happen.
It's quite a mighty institution, as we've seen, Dave.
In this scenario, I don't think that matters. The state's going to help fund Michigan State for their own complete fuck-uppery? I don't think so. I think that's going to happen.
Well, it's a public university, so regardless, some of this cash is coming out of our pockets.
Just straight up from taxes,
But
of
what
course.
you would hope is that it's cash that's already come out of our pockets. And the profits that this non-profit school holds. There's no such thing as a non-profit. There's always a profit. It's just a matter of whose pockets that profit's going into.
Mm-hmm.
You had some Engler comments, right?
I had one Engler comment, but I haven't even found it now, to be honest with you.
He was looking for it. Is it
too far back
You
now.
retweeted.
I did
God
not.
damn it.
I didn't. I thought I did.
Why
but
can't I
didn't.
speak this evening? You thought it came from Tony Paul, right?
He had retweeted something. God, I gotta go back all the way to last fucking Thursday now.
That's an eternity in Twitter time.
It is, especially because Tony's an active Twitter participant. He tweets a lot, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think Tony tweets a lot when he's drunk.
Then apparently Tony's drunk all the time. Tony tweets a lot all the time.
I could see Tony being drunk all the time.
I don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, I'm not trying to put that out there. I have no evidence that that's the case.
I don't tweet at all.
I
I just look like a raging alcoholic.
That's how Mike does the untapped shit.
Yep.
Do you get like a special prize for tweeting what beers you've drank?
No.
You just do it?
Yeah.
If you look at your Untapped app, we'll know that you're an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
For those who don't know, Untapped is basically a social media platform for beer drinkers.
But it's-
you get like rate beers and shit.
But it's been done over time, so it's okay.
True.
It didn't all happen in a weekend. I mean, half of it did, but
Yeah, but Untapped is like Mike's Instagram.
I mean, that's true.
Fuck Instagram. We don't know what
Just
Johnny
the video.
Did. Did you lose it?
No.
You got it?
Hold on. Of course, I wasn't planning to play another video, so I unplugged all my shit.
Just leave it plugged in.
I'm OCD, Dan. I can't do that.
Are you really?
I don't know. Not in the clinical sense. All right, let's see.
Is this it?
I have my quirks. This is video. I hope this is the right video. I pulled it up using that article.
Oh, we will see.
Okay, what's going on here?
Taking a look now, and
Hold on.
Are you going to ask the state to kick into part of the settlement?
well, no, I think at this point what we're doing internally is taking a look now, and the first up is obviously we have contractual relationships with insurance companies, and we're working next up. They were part of the mediation at every step of the way, and we now will hope to be able to work out that contribution from them, which they are contractually obligated to provide. So we'll see where that goes, and we're obviously looking at then how we do deal with a settlement that's pretty substantial.
Well, can you rule out coming to the legislature asking for an extra appropriation?
Well, it's not our intent to do that. I mean, we're not here to ask for that. I mean, we think the House has been very thoughtful and deliberative in their process. We certainly appreciate that. And what we want to do, and we're beginning to do this with legislators now, is brief them on the settlement, which is historic. And I think very important. It's an equitable settlement for the survivors, for all the parties, and I think it allows us to move forward and think about what are the other changes that we'll be making as we get ready to welcome the largest freshman class in Michigan State history.
So you don't want to use tuition to pay for the settlement, though, right?
Actually, what we're hoping to use is find a leprechaun and get a... No, I mean, seriously, we have not made those decisions. I think that question was asked and answered twice.
Oh, that's a clever joke, Engler. That's a clever joke.
That was the main line I was going
Hoping
for.
to find... Now he's culturally appropriating Irish people? Call him out for that?
All right, that's a bit of a leap. But in today's society...
Oh, my God. That is just... It's just a joke you don't make at that particular juncture.
No,
You're talking about paying a settlement for young women who have been sexually molested. I'm all for, getting a little bit anti-politically correct from time to time, but not a man in his position put in a place where he is doing what he has to do, which is find a way to pay these young women. Wrong place, wrong time, Johnny. He better be gone soon. And Michigan State, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they got to get it right somehow. Michigan State's in a little bit of a slump right now. When it comes to, I don't even know. Slump's probably not a strong enough word.
Well, I would really like him, and this is the lesser of the two hires by a wide margin, but I'd really like them to hire a female athletic director, if I had my choice.
That would seem to be a pretty good move.
Now, obviously, you got to hire the right person. You got to hire the most qualified person. And you also have to hire somebody who is willing to come take the job.
Do you have to hire the most qualified person, or can you just hire somebody who's qualified to make sure it's a female and get this thing right?
No, I don't think you can do that.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you go out and hire an old white dude, that's not going to help matters.
I don't think they're hiring anybody.
Well, good.
I don't think that's going to happen. They're looking towards a new age, and when you do that, by the sheer nature of that word, you're going to look for somebody who is current in their understandings of the world and society, and that typically is going to be a younger person, not somebody who's 25, but you're probably talking about somebody who is anywhere between 35 and 45 would be my guess. A younger male or female who has a read on things, and again, both of the hires. And I don't think there's really any debate about this part either. Both hires have to come from 100% outside of MSU.
But don't you think the wiser move would be, okay, so say you've got 5 qualified candidates. 2 of them are women, 3 of them are men. The best one is a man. The second best one is a woman. And their experience is marginal. Like, he's definitely the more qualified, but not by a lot. Don't you think move...
You're saying that it's a negligible difference between the two, basically.
Like, the guy is obviously more qualified. I don't know. Maybe it's by more experience or whatever it is. But the second place person is a woman. Don't you sacrifice that little bit of a qualification to hire a woman? Because if you hire a woman as an athletic director, nobody can say shit.
No, and you probably do that. I just also don't want to.
It would be a great PR move.
I just also don't want to get into a spot where, you hire a woman for the sake of hiring a woman. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's basically what's going to happen.
But no, I don't think you can do that, because I think that within a couple years would blow up in your face.
I think that if there was ever a time to hire a woman for the sake of hiring a woman, given what Michigan State has done has handled this entire situation. I think this is the perfect time to do it.
I don't think you can do that, and I will tell you why. Because
are people going to call you out for that?
If you hire somebody,
that's what would happen.
I'm not kidding. If you hire somebody who's not as good as somebody who else was who was on your list, who happened to be a man, if you hire the female because you like her enough to say, okay, this is all right, and she's also a woman, so from a PR standpoint, it's great for us. And then in 2-3 years, it's completely obvious, because that's a very short time period for an athletic director. Athletic directors are normally in position for quite a while unless they leave.
But then it would come out, you just hired her because she's a woman.
That's exactly right. And then it's not as bad a PR scenario as what they're in right now, obviously. But it also would not be good, because then they're going to be like, well, they still found a way to mangle this up because they hired a female just in name to seem like they were with it.
Then it's almost offensive to women for the opposite reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I think it's a slippery slope to try to think you can do it that way. This is where I am hoping they find a really qualified female, because hiring a female athletic director would be such a good thing for them. And the weird thing about the president hire, though, is, and I was saying this for a while, but I mean, they had a female president, and she botched the shit out of it. So I don't think it's weird that I think that spot. I don't know if you can really say, well, they got to hire a woman or they got to hire a man, because it didn't work with a woman the last time at the end. So I think in that spot, especially with all of the things, all of the duties that a president of a university has under their umbrella, you just have to hire the right fucking person. You need to hire a person who knows what the fuck they're doing in every sense of the word.
And somebody outside the cult.
100%. Both hires have to come from far outside of the Michigan State family. You cannot hire somebody with ties again, because it's just going to be more of the same. It's because that is the consensus viewpoint of Michigan State at this point. So if you hire anybody that has even the littlest tie to Michigan State, it's gonna be really bad. You got to go way outside. Go hire somebody that's lived in California their whole life. Like, I don't care.
At the same time, I think you can go with a woman who's a little less qualified than a man at this point, because you've already got two coaches of your two top programs that are outstanding. I mean, we've had our little rift with Tom Izzo and what he's been able to accomplish over the past decade, but Mark Dantonio, by far, best coach Michigan State's ever had. So you're set up pretty well there already, right?
From the coaching standpoint?
Yeah.
Sure.
From the two revenue sports.
Sure.
So, maybe you don't have to get this higher 100% top qualified candidate. But, they're still got to be qualified. No question about that.
Because,
they've got to do a good job.
They're a big part, obviously, of what happens with those two revenue-making sports, as you said, the two most revenue-producing sports. But at the same time, they're not out there dealing with the Big Ten commissioner and formulating plans for tournaments, and they're involved in the process after those things are kind of a little further down the line, where they're trying to help map out like a schedule and all that stuff. But the athletic director is the face. Let's be fair here. And when it comes to the actual day-to-day goings on with the athletic department, and there is, yes, those two sports are the most money driving sports that a university can have when they're good. Football is the king of all when it comes to money making, but there is a lot of sports programs within that umbrella that, while most people might not pay as much attention to them, they are important to the university, and you got to manage them all. To a certain degree, you have to manage them all alike.
Something just popped into my head. It doesn't really have that much to do with Larry Nassar, but it does have to do with kind of the way Michigan State is viewed right now, which is not good. I think we can agree on that.
Sure.
Does this whole situation with the athletic director and what's going on, I'm curious your opinion, and what's happened with Larry Nassar, just what's going on with the university as a whole, does it make it difficult for somebody like, I don't know, a Pat Narduzzi to come back to the school in any sort of way? Does it make it more difficult? Do you think it would be a bad hire at this point? Say Dantonio retires after the football season's over, and you're looking for a replacement. Pat Narduzzi's a popular name, is it not?
It is. I don't know that it would have the same effect.
Because it's the old guard, right?
Yeah.
But then again, how much does the football team and the whole athletic department have to do with Larry Nassar and this and that? But it all, from a social angle, it all gets tied together, doesn't it? ESPN tried to take down your two top coaches with some pretty bogus stories, or at least old stories that have really kind of died off, haven't they? Wow. What happened to those things?
My answer would be that I don't think that it would affect all that much, but I also think there is that small part of your brain when you, as far as you being in a position to hire said coach, whoever it might be, you would have to at least give it a moment's thought. You got to at least let that play out in your brain. Is this going to look bad on us because he was here during the portion of time that some of these things were going on? Yes, the football program
probably had nothing to do with it.
The football program has basically nothing to do with the gymnastics program, and there's a very good chance that the people involved with the basketball team, the people involved with the football team, didn't have a damn clue this was going on. That's entirely possible.
Probably never even met Larry Nassar.
That's very possible. It's incredibly possible. But it is. I get your point, though. I mean,
it's just the optics, right?
Yeah. The thing is like, since you mentioned Narduzzi, I don't even know. I think his lack of major success to this point at Pitt would make me think that maybe he wouldn't be the choice, because Michigan State is a pretty darn good program right now. And if, let's just say the scenario plays out, Michigan State goes out, has another good year this year, makes a good bowl game or whatever, and Dantonio decides all of a sudden that he said, you know what, no, this is a good way to go out. I'm done. I don't think that Narduzzi or Ron Burton, no, not Ron Burton. God, why can't I think of the guy that just Harlan Barnett. Sorry, Harlan Barnett, the guy who just went and took the defensive coordinator position at Florida State. I don't think either of those guys would be considered for the head coaching gig right now today if it ended today, or even at the end of this current season. Just because I just don't think they're established enough as head coaches. And Narduzzi's had a few years.
He's done some nice things at Pitt.
He's had some signature wins, which are nice, but it hasn't been anywhere near consistent enough.
It's Pitt, dude. It's the old Big East, man.
It's tough to recruit there. I mean, I think Narduzzi's a very good recruiter. I think he'd do really well recruiting coming back here. He knows the Midwest like the back of his hand. So, and there might be some continuity with the staff and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know.
I'm just curious.
I don't know where they're at.
I'm just curious what the reaction would be from a public perspective.
I think the fact that there's going to be a new AD would be the biggest reason why I think that Narduzzi would have lesser chance, because there's no tie now. Mark Hollis loved Narduzzi, knew Narduzzi.
Still got the board, though. Board's got to say. You got that old guard still going on.
Well, and they might side with your theory, though. That's possible, too. They might say we can't hire somebody that was already here because of the optics. I don't know.
That's your Mitch Lyons.
Well, Mitch Lyons should, I don't know.
What the hell did he do that we talked about a couple weeks ago? I smoked too much weed to remember that shit.
He was just a smug piece of shit. That he
his Trumpian answers?
Yeah, it's
very Trumpian answers.
Everything involved with the leadership of MSU is just such a goddamn disaster.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
And they keep getting it wrong.
Starting to look like those kids who I wouldn't say made fun of, but we kind of on our show told them that they need to calm down a little bit. When Engler was first announced.
Oh, yeah.
Like they might have been more right than we thought.
Yeah, but at the time they didn't know that. It was very social justice warrior-y. All right, they got it. They got it right. Maybe they got it right. Good for them.
I think it was...
1 out of 100 ain't bad.
I mean, it was a slightly overboard way to go about trying to get their point across. But now I do now more than then understand where they were coming from based off of what has occurred since that initial open forum town hall thing that was going on.
All right, we got to take a break. What do we have? I got a lot of shit on my notes here. I do want to talk a little bit about this school shooting. Not from the. We're not going to argue about guns here. We never do that. But there's an interesting angle to it. At least I found it interesting. Maybe we'll get to it. Maybe we won't. I'm not too worried about that one. Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Final. We've got to talk a little bit more about Miguel Cabrera and his antics and what he's been saying. Oh, and also, the reason we didn't start the show tonight, thank you for pointing this out, Mike. The reason we didn't start the show until, 10 o'clock was because we were actually having an intense conversation about the movie Batman Forever. Yes, we're going to have all that when we come back. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports, David Faze, Mike Tripp, myself, Dan Griffin, SportsRadioDetroit.com. Do not go away.
Hey, this is Darren McCarty, 4-time Stanley Cup champion with the Detroit Red Wings. You're listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports on SportsRadioDetroit.com.
As of today, we have the number 3 podcast in America.
No shit. Remind me to ask that Mark Maron how my ass tastes.
Welcome back! Out of Bounds Detroit Sports, David Faze, Mike Tripp, and myself, Dan Griffin, inventing your ear hole, as always, on SportsRadioDetroit.com. Please follow us on Twitter at OB_DetSports. Like the Out of Bounds Detroit Sports Facebook page. Follow Sports Radio DET. I'm sorry, that's the Twitter handle. Follow Sports Radio Detroit at Sports Radio DET. Yeah! It's been a year since we lost Chris Cornell. It's a big point in my life. Went to break with him, came out of break with him. There, I did it, Dave. You bitched at me a couple weeks ago about not blaring the good music that we play. Here we go.
You'll get the hang of it one of these days.
No, we were talking during the break about the grunge era again because we were reminded of Chris Cornell's death a year ago. By the way, how much is that room at MGM going for nowadays? It's an extra $70 to rent the Chris Cornell room.
Or is it like the eeriness of you ever seen the movie 1408 with John Cusack?
No.
Like the haunted room. It's a little obscure, obviously, but it's kind of I'm wondering if it's flipped more to that side where people are afraid to go into.
I just went back and listened to the episode that we did post Chris Cornell's death, and I listened to what we were talking about was going to happen with that room. I will give MGM credit. We still don't know which room that was, do we?
I don't think so.
I don't think we're ever going to know. Every time I stay there now, I'm be like, is this a room? Is this a Chris Cornell room? Come on, tell me the truth.
And they're just going to be like, yes, it is. And then you're gonna stay, and then you're gonna stay another night
and ask again,
and then ask, and they're like, yes, it is.
The only way you're gonna know is if he pulled the if he pulled a move like Brooks from Shawshank Redemption and wrote in the Raptors, Chris was here. That's the only way you're gonna know.
I should do that. No, that'd be evil.
If you wrote Chris was here,
yeah, would that be
that
dark?
would be.
Yeah,
that'd be really dark.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't do that.
No.
Sorry, I've had a couple too many beers. I say things I don't mean.
Yeah, if you do that, you might not get. Well, you don't.
Might I get my deposit back?
Yeah. I was gonna say, there's a lot of things wrong there.
Yeah.
It's mean. It's almost vindictive. It's destroying property. It's all bad.
No, we're talking about the grunge era, and Mike and I, and Dave, you've probably been involved in this conversation before, all the documentaries that we see about the grunge era, because it was a very influential era on the rock and roll world, was it not?
Yes.
The big four of Pearl Jam, Nirvana, STP, and Soundgarden. Those were the consensus big four. Lots of documentaries on a lot of those guys
STP,
involved.
The oil guys?
No, Dave.
Kidding. That was a joke, but keep going.
The grunge band.
I know who
Stone
it is.
Temple Pilots.
We didn't just have a 20-minute conversation about it.
But my thing was, there's the redheaded stepchild of the grunge era, right?
Yep.
Alice in Chains. That's a redheaded stepchild, and all these documentaries on Kurt Cobain, as there should be, right? Where's the Lane Staley doc? What happened to Lane Staley?
I'm waiting for that.
We know that he OD'd. It's not as sexy as Kurt's death, right? He blew his own face off with a shotgun.
And Alice in Chains, they're still cranking out albums, and they're still doing
I'm
tours.
not sure that's the word I would have chosen.
What is it? Jerry Cantrell, he didn't want to continue on as Alice in Chains, but what was it? Lane Staley's mother gave him her blessing and said, "You guys need to," and they're still plugging away. But there's no documentary.
Lane is the forgotten frontman.
Yep.
Because the grunge era, the frontman was the big part of those groups, always. Now, we all know what Dave Grohl is, right? Probably the best overall musician of the grunge era.
Yep.
I think Kurt was the best poet, the best lyricist, and then you had Chris Cornell, who was, in my opinion, the best vocals.
I don't think that's just your opinion.
No, I that's pretty much a consensus that those three are those three. That there's not really much room for argument there, which is very different when it comes, because there's a lot of room for argument in music in a lot of ways, right? But the grunge era, it's all pretty much just laid out there for you.
There's no writing, there's no songs quite as deep and poetic as the songs that Cobain wrote. Grohl can play anything and play anything well. Not saying like he can fiddle around with things. Like, he plays everything well. And as I said when we talked about this with Ryan shortly after Ryan Schuling shortly after Cornell's death last year, I think that Grohl, still to this day, even as long as he's been the front man for Foo Fighters, I think he's still a far better drummer than he is a guitarist, and he's a good guitarist.
Yeah, I've never been in love with the Foo Fighters.
They're fine. I mean,
I like them, and I love Dave Grohl and what he does. I don't know. It's just something weird about it. It's just a weird quirk I have. I don't really have any rhyme or reason for why I've never really gotten into the Foo Fighters. I just never really have. I don't know. I don't know if that's weird.
I can agree with that statement. Like, I mean, I've owned some Foo Fighter albums, and I'll listen to them every now and then.
I like classic Foo.
Yes.
Anything after like 2004
sounds like a bad.
Not so much.
Sounds like a bad Kung Fu movie.
But
classic Foo.
I probably would have a much different appreciation for them. Maybe if I saw them in concert.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and maybe what you need.
They're on my bucket list for sure. But I've just never had the opportunity to go.
And then when Cornell and Tom Morello got together and formed Audioslave. I like Audioslave more than I like Soundgarden. That's a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
Cornell and Tom Morello. How is that not? And they put out 2 albums, so you weren't oversaturated with it, right? So not only do you have what I think, at least probably since the Beatles, the most influential era in rock and roll, changed music pretty drastically, But now, you've got the best part against Rage Against the Machines teaming up with the best vocalist of the grunge era. How do you not get gold out of that with Audioslave? I dug it.
Pretty good. Pretty good stuff.
Nothing more to say. Oh, except for the fact that we just went over the fact that STP's got a new frontman.
They do.
I didn't even know. This apparently happened at the beginning of the year. I didn't even realize.
It was either the very end of 2017 or the very beginning of 2018. I don't know the exact time.
There was a lot of murmurs going around that they had found their new singer. I don't know how STP found this guy or the audition or whatever, but there were quite a few names that were thrown around, and there was this guy.
The guy was on X Factor, right?
He was. Yeah.
I had no idea, and I was a little skeptical just sitting here during the break of what we were going to hear, but I was impressed.
Well,
I didn't think anybody could replace Scott Weiland.
And here's the thing: when you're talking about a band like that, and we're trying to replace, a singer who was so much of their identity, the big thing is it's not so much a struggle of finding somebody who you can make new music with, because you can, if you decide to go a different, you can change your sound, you can do whatever you want with a new singer, right? The problem is when you're as established as they are, you have a lot of really classic hits, and if you don't get somebody that can do those songs true justice, it's not going to work. Because that's what people, when you go to concerts, yes, if you put out a new album, people want to hear your new stuff. But how many times do you go to a concert and you're like, I want to hear the song from 10 years ago?
I want to hear the classics,
exactly.
Right? How well does he hold up with the classics?
Exactly.
And I wasn't thinking anything of it. Whatever. They just found a guy. I was very, very impressed with how much he could pull off Scott Weiland's vocals.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
Roll a little bit of it, Dave.
All right.
This is live, too, right?
Yes. Very good recording because it's done in a controlled thing, but it's live.
Playing some plush.
So where you going tomorrow? And I see these lies that come. Would you even care? And I feel it. And I feel it. So where you going tomorrow?
Rizzo.
So where you going with the massive fire?
I could believe that's Scott Weiland live. I was impressed.
Got a good sound.
So will she smell low?
Compared to the real thing. Just trying to get to the 1,000,000-second intro.
Pretty good.
Pretty close. Oh, yeah. I was impressed.
Not too shabby.
I'm not at all sad now that Stone Temple Pilots is back with a new singer. I could dig it.
And he's a Michigan guy, too.
Yes, he
That's
is.
right. Marine City, right?
Yes, indeed. That is where he resides, I think. Or not resides, but where he grew up.
Not anymore. Now he's got a lot of blow going around, though.
For
Backstage.
all we know, he was living around here before he got that gig. We don't know.
Anyway, a year since we lost Chris Cornell. It's a big day in my life.
By the way, according to Jeff Goot is his name, by the way, the new singer for Stone Temple Pilots. So according to his Wikipedia, he has been the lead singer for them since November of last year, was when he was officially announced. That's what they're saying.
Wow. Where have I been? Stuck in my bubble. That's where.
Listening to your Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, now I keep thinking about her looking like my 4th grade teacher, and it's not the same anymore.
I was surprised you never made a comment about that meme I sent you over the weekend.
Oh my God! The royal wedding meme?
See, Dave responded right away.
So Mike sends Dave and I think you sent it to Jeff too, right?
I see.
Yeah,
I
it was
sent
all
it to
of
the
us.
group, and nobody said a word except for Dave here.
This meme
wow.
that was comparing the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to the wedding of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Alanis Morissette.
It was great.
They do look very similar,
don't they?
All of them. I think
I think Prince Harry and Earnhardt look more alike than
Meghan Markle and Alanis Morissette.
So yeah, okay, that might have been a stretch, but
it's not like terrible. It's not like a drastic stretch, but it's pretty funny though.
Absolutely ridiculous.
You know what my favorite part about this?
I didn't know what to say
as I'm looking at it a second time. The way that they put the pictures together, the shot they have of Alanis is looking directly at the picture of Earnhardt. It looks like she's looking so longingly at him. It's fantastic. Just take a look at it again. She loves him so much.
Share it on the Facebook page.
It's a black fly in your Chardonnay.
That was awesome. I'm so glad you brought that up.
I figured you guys would get a good kick out of it.
I didn't know what to say.
And
That's why I didn't respond.
I was out to dinner with my parents, Katie's parents, and then I'm like, Dave, that's great. Crickets from you and Jeff, and I'm like, wow.
I didn't know what to say. I was lost for words for the first time in my life.
Also,
that's how funny it was.
Also, by the way, the last thing in that thread before that was the meme of Chad Kroger plus Zach Braff equals Dax Shepard.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's also very funny.
That's really scary.
Frighteningly accurate. Yes.
Yeah. It does. Oh god, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't even know what to say about it.
Did I send that out or did you?
I think you did.
I think I did.
I think you did.
Oh god. What a turd Miguel Cabrera is, Dave?
He's a little bit turdy. Yeah.
He comes out after the whole Lynn Henning debacle, right? That we picked on him for on Thursday.
Who's Miguel Cabrera?
Baseball player. At least that's what we think he does. But he's hurt now, so he's never going to play.
He's hurt now?
Oh, yeah. And he won't play anymore hurt because Detroit fans don't appreciate when he plays hurt.
He's been hurt for like 6 years. The whole time.
But then it gets out that, he might want to go back to Florida. Right? And he says he was just kidding. He was just messing around when he said that. That's like a little kid who gets busted calling his little sister a poop head and then goes, I was just kidding. That's exactly what Miguel Cabrera just did. Because he does want to go back to Florida. You don't want to know why? Because he's pissed. Why is he pissed, Dave? You know why he's pissed? Any idea? Any idea why Miguel Cabrera would be pissed?
We're not good now?
Well, there's that, but that's a very small portion of it, I think. The main portion of it is the fact that the Detroit media exposed his second family in Florida, and now he's really upset that our media would be so ridiculous as to do such a thing.
That was coming out anyway.
But our media were the first ones that brought it out.
Yeah, our media also brought out Matt Patricia's stuff, too. So
now Miguel Cabrera is pissed, and he wants out of here. But he was just kidding because his PR person told him, you probably shouldn't say that you want to go back to Florida. And I'm looking at it going, okay, fine. Dude, fuck you. Fuck you. You were a great piece to this team for 2 World Series appearances. You make $30 million a year. You can't stay healthy, and your skills are waning. And, oh, by the way, you want to call us fans out for something that's completely false and say that you want to be traded? Okay, fine. Or not necessarily traded, but just back in Florida by whatever means necessary. But guess what, dude? Guess what you've done? You've made it nearly impossible to trade you based on the money that you took. Now, I don't have a problem with the money that he took. Guy earned the contract that he was offered and he accepted it, but he still accepted it. And in doing so, has made it impossible for the Tigers organization to get him out of here. So you're stuck, bro. And now you've alienated a fan base that is not very forgiving once you've alienated it. I make fun of this fan base a lot for its loyalty, but with that loyalty, you also, from a, what's the word I'm looking for? From a personal perspective, you have to earn it. Now, you don't have to earn it from a professional perspective, obviously, because this fan base loves a football team that's never won anything. But as long as you don't say anything bad about this fan base, they're going to love you. But once you've done that, like Miguel Cabrera did, you're done. Look at Sergei Fedorov. Remember what happened to him?
Yeah. They're not retiring his jersey because of it.
He wanted out of here. And he didn't get out of here. And it was never the same relationship after that with his fan base.
Well, then he left.
Well, sure. Once that contract was finally up, he was gone. But he didn't ultimately get traded. Remember, he was holding out, waiting for a trade. Almost had a deal set with Carolina. And he ain't go. I don't remember why. Don't really care. But it was never the same relationship. Miguel Cabrera has just put himself in Sergei Fedorov territory. The only thing that makes it worse is the fact that this team's really fucking bad. And the Red Wings were really good. And winning fixed a lot of things with the Sergei Fedorov relationship.
You think back on things that could have transpired for the Wings, that team could have been a lot different than what it wound up being. At one point, they were going to trade Steve Yzerman. I mean, there was some things that almost happened that didn't happen. That would have a major effect on how we view certain players and certain people that were involved with the greatest years that this organization's ever had. So, with the Wings organization's ever had. It's kind of weird how things work out by not working out.
So what you're saying, Dave, ipso facto, vis-a-vis concordingly, is that now the Tigers are going to go win a World Series.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably stretching it a bit.
You know what's funny is we looked at
maybe in like 2024.
We talked about the good bad Tigers last week on Thursday, remember? About how they're like below 500 but still within striking distance of the division, like serious striking distance. Then you have a game like yesterday where you have a former ace of a pitcher who's had some injury problems and was a little bit washed up. And what did you really expect out of Liriano coming into this season? And this motherfucker goes out, pitches 6 1/3, no hit, and gets through 8 innings of scoreless baseball, and you lose the game 3-2. Because fuck Barmer comes out and does what fuck Barmer does.
No, it wasn't Farmer's fault. They still could have won. Shane Green blew a save.
That's fine.
Didn't have to even get the Buck Farmer.
Either way. But fuck, Barmer didn't help.
This bullpen's fucking garbage. It's terrible.
This is what this team is.
And it's funny. I saw somebody today talking about how with all of the slightly rosy things happening for the Tigers in a season where people thought it was just going to be horrific, right? People were like, yeah, somehow still Alavila and the Tigers can't find a bullpen. What do you expect on a team that you were not expecting to be good? What have we said 1,000 times is quite often the last thing to come together for a team that is good is the bullpen. So why in hell would you think that on a team that already is coming into the season with the expectation that they're not going to be good, why do you think by some weird miracle a bullpen of hodgepodge guys is going to be good? That's retarded thinking. How are you actually surprised that the bullpen is bad? It's just open your eyes.
It was the one thing that was bad when the Tigers were good.
That's my point exactly. That's my point exactly. Why do you think it's going to flip-flop?
Maybe they were expecting it to flip-flop.
The bullpen's the one thing that's good.
I mean, who
that would be fitting. Let's be honest.
Who in the bullpen is really in like new blood? Jimenez, who's been decent, right? Shane Green Shane Green has insanely nasty stuff, but he's just incredibly inconsistent. I don't think he's probably pegged for a long-term role as a closer in this league. He might do a little better as a setup man, 7th or 8th inning guy. And we'll see. But I mean, what other guys? You have fucking gas can Daniel Stumpf. You've got two guys up right now, or actually no, I guess they flip-flopped 2 guys, but you got a guy who's been a minor leaguer for half of his baseball career. He's up. He had a few moments with Texas and stuff. Louis Coleman's in the bullpen. I mean, you have a bunch of retread, but not like ever good retreads.
I honestly think that the Tigers organization were expecting that these bullpen pitchers to flip a light switch and then they would be good. Because everybody knew that the Tigers were going to be bad this year. So they probably were thinking that maybe the bullpen might be actually good this year.
That'd be the ass backwards thinking of this organization from start to finish. That would be absolutely perfect.
It's fine. They're going to draft a guy first overall this year and then wind up turning him into a reliever.
But I'm sitting here going, okay, when are you going to start losing more baseball games? When can we look at a guy who just went 6 1/3, no hit, and 8 shutout innings as a trade piece, perhaps?
Anytime. I don't think it's going to matter whether there's a winning or not winning.
But if they're in contention for the division, Dave, it's going to be a buy mode. It has to be.
There's no way.
You got a chance to go to the postseason. You're not going to be in buy mode. If you're the Tigers,
you're going to give up the assets that you just worked your ass off to get? I don't think so.
I guess.
That would be the most asinine thing.
I'm not saying it would be buy mode like they've got to go out and get somebody crazy, but instead of selling off pieces, maybe they try and get a low-end piece somewhere. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to trade those prospects away.
Look, here's the deal. Francisco Liriano has been a trade piece the last couple of years for a couple different teams. He was traded at the deadline last year to, ironically enough, to the Houston Astros, who actually he was traded a little bit before the trade deadline, but regardless, to the Houston Astros, who gave up not quite the prospect package, obviously, that the Tigers got for Justin Verlander. You wouldn't expect that to happen. But they gave up a pretty decent prospect, all things considered, for Francisco Liriano, without really knowing whether he was going to come in as a starter or a reliever, and they wound up working him mostly out of the pen. He's having a remarkably good start to the year. You give him 3 or 4 more starts, so you're talking end of June, right? Not even end of June, middle of June. Because you'd be talking, what, like 20 days worth of time? 20 to 21 days worth of time to get him in, 4 or 5 starts. And he pitches anything. I'm not expecting to go out there and pitch no-hitter level of ball every time, obviously. But if he keeps pitching generally the way he's been pitching to start the year, you could get a pretty decent prospect in return. Even if you got, let's put it this way, when the Tigers traded Joakim Soria a few years back, and the return for him was Jacoby Jones, that right now looks like a pretty damn good trade. Soria didn't do much for the Pirates, has gone on to not do much for the other two teams he signed with. He was done basically, and you got a guy who I think right now they look at as part of their rebuild process. I don't know how good he's going to be. This might be a ceiling.
But can't you see the Tigers?
If you can get somebody like that for Francisco Liriano when you sign him for almost nothing right before spring training, that's a hell of a deal.
But can't you see the Tigers not making that move because they're in contention? That's what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to go out and buy major pieces with prospects, but I could see them not making moves that they would otherwise make if they weren't in contention.
I could see them not trading him if there's market cooling or anything like that, and they do not receive offers for, like, if somebody's trying to get, if Liriano is pitching like he's pitching and somebody's trying to trade you like a super low level, like, middling single A pitcher, I don't know if you're going to make that move. I don't know if it's worth that. You don't get a prospect just for the sake of a prospect every time. In a salary dump, sometimes you have to because you're trying to get rid of the salary and it's kind of a trade-off. But that's not what for instance, they signed him for $4 million. That's a penny to these teams.
But if they're in contention in the Central Division, come the trade deadline, that's a move they might not make because they have a chance to get to the postseason. Which will ultimately lead to nothing, which is my point.
I don't think that they're going to do that.
Well, there you go. David Fay says he doesn't think they're going to do that.
I also don't think there's a chance in hell they're going to be in contention. You just give it 3 weeks.
I hope you're right. You got to start losing some baseball games. That's just the way it's got to be.
The thing for me is I'm not even looking at it from a perspective of the Tigers falling so far off the wagon. I'm expecting Cleveland to pick it up. That's the part that's going to be a problem. If Cleveland keeps middling around like this, I don't know if the Tigers are going to drop off that drastically. Then you could see a spot where they might be in contention. If Cleveland keeps doing what they're doing, Cleveland looks like garbage.
We're looking at a season where an under 500 team may win a division.
Yeah.
That's it. Ultimately, I don't think that's going to happen, but it really, really looks like that right now. It really does. That would be fun.
Well, water typically finds its level in every way, shape, and form, so you would expect Cleveland to find a rhythm at some point here pretty soon. But, man, what are we, 6-7 weeks into the year now?
Oh, God, I sent you that, or I shared that fucking Ohtani statistic earlier today.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. Shohei Ohtani and his splitter may be the most deadly pitch I've ever seen. Why? What were those stats I posted?
I'll pull it up.
His splitter, I've got it right here. His splitter was hit for a base hit for the first time yesterday. Until then, nobody in Major League Baseball had ever hit a Shohei Ohtani split-fingered fastball.
Hitters are 1 for 44 with 30 strikeouts, which comes to a .023 batting average.
Yeah. And before yesterday, they were 0 for 36 with 24 strikeouts against the splitter. Dude, this dude is a freak, and I hope baseball people.
You said 0 for 36?
Yes.
So that means he got 8 more outs and 6 more strikeouts using that pitch yesterday.
Yesterday. After the base hit. Well, no, I guess not after the base hit. Because that's 12 more. That's 12 more total outs using that pitch. And there was one hit somewhere in the middle there by Wilson Ramos.
Of all people.
Got the catcher for the Rays. Got the first hit off of a Shohei Ohtani split-finger fastball. I really hope baseball people can appreciate this talent. I hope they are. Because it's so funny. The few times that I actually accidentally stumble across ESPN. I don't see them talking about Ohtani. Maybe they are, and I'm not seeing it.
I don't really watch ESPN anymore, so.
But this is the biggest, and that's the thing. I don't know if I watch enough ESPN to really pay enough attention to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they talk about him all the time. I just never happen to catch it. But this kid is, you could honestly argue he's the best player in baseball right now, right? Couldn't you make that argument? Just because he can pitch at such a high level and hit at such a high level? Like, doesn't that just conclude that he's the best player in baseball?
I would say he's the most dynamic.
He's like the LeBron James of baseball. He does everything well. The one thing Shohei Ohtani doesn't do well. Can he run? He can run, right?
I don't think he's like a speedster, but he's...
All right, so maybe he's not stealing bases. That's the only thing he can't do.
I mean, we don't really... Do we really know if he can field?
That's true. We don't necessarily know that. Because you said he mostly pitches and DHs, right?
They basically don't put him in the field because they're hoping to keep him healthy.
I wouldn't put it... Let's go check some of his Japan highlights. I bet you he can field.
I mean, I'm sure the dude's got an arm from right field.
That's just a freakish statistic. Because you brought up... Should we just do a Shohei Ohtani freakish statistic of the week? Because last week you brought up the runners in scoring position numbers.
Yeah, so that was a batting statistic.
Exactly. 7 for 7 with a couple of home runs, a bunch of doubles, and a walk.
Yeah. 7 for 7 out of 8 plate appearances.
Now, batters are hitting 23 against his splitter. 23. 0-2-3.
Yeah.
Mike's writing something down. Oh, it's the Shohei Ohtani statistic of the week?
Yes, exactly.
What are we going to come up with next week?
I don't know.
We'll look it up. Jesus, this is going to start getting really difficult after a little while.
Right. Like tomorrow.
But what do you compare that to? Like, most devastating pitches ever. Like, locally, you think of the Justin Verlander 12-6 curveball, right? That was a bitch of a pitch to hit. You could talk about Greg Maddox's 88-mile-an-hour fastball that just painted the corner every fucking time that nobody could hit. Shohei Ohtani's splitter right now is up there with those pitches.
Greg Maddox is the greatest finesse pitcher I've ever seen. Remember
the time we
Baseball's been around a long time.
Remember the time we talked to Belegian?
And we've talked to Belegian many times.
Well, no, and Belegian was at the All-Star game in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And he saw Greg Maddox sitting in the corner of the dugout with glasses on and his legs crossed reading a book. He's like, this is a Hall of Fame pitcher. This guy looks like my fucking librarian. That's what he was. Greg Maddox barely threw the ball over 90. He's one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
He's a tactician.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You don't see that shit anymore. Meanwhile, you had Roger Clemens on roids throwing the ball 148 miles an hour until he was 60 years old. That's all an exaggeration.
148, 60 years old. Holy shit.
Those would have been 2 records in all of baseball forever.
Oh, yeah.
Oldest guy to pitch in the majors, fastest pitch by 40 miles an hour.
What else are we going to talk? Oh, we got to talk about Batman Forever. But first, I wanted to remind you guys of something, or I wanted to show you guys something. Marco Rubio, Florida senator, ran for president.
Yeah, knows who Colin Kaepernick is.
Little Marco. Oh, no, it's not just that. Marco Rubio listens to the show. He listens to our show.
Bullshit.
He has to. You know why? Because he said something straight out of my fucking mouth. Did you see this on TMZ?
No.
Marco Rubio listens to the show. You tell me. Tell me what he said.
How you doing, Senator? Senator, knowing football like you know it, right? They just came out with a thing today with Colin Kaepernick saying that the owners knew that most of them said that he was a starting quarterback. So it was like they kind of colluded against him to bringing him in the league. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know what the owners did. I think he certainly... 64 quarterbacks in the NFL? There aren't 63 people better than him.
Have I not said those exact words right here on this show?
Yeah. I mean,
Marco Rubio listens to the show.
I think other people have probably said that.
He has to listen to those were my words.
Right.
He goes further.
So, that's a good question to ask. Look, I support his right to stand for what he does. I don't agree with what he did, but I support his right to do it. But if you're just talking football, I mean, there's a dearth of good quarterbacks, and there aren't 63 better quarterbacks in the world.
He said, in the world. Marco Rubio listens to our show. No. He has to listen to the show.
No chance in hell.
What do you do? Just pull those thoughts out of the clear blue sky?
No, I'm sure he did some research.
64 best quarterbacks in the world? Those are my words.
He did some research, which is how many quarterbacks play in the NFL? And then he just backed up the math from there.
No, I think he listens to the show.
Okay.
That's what I think. Let's ask Roger. Check those IP addresses, Roger. We getting any from somewhere in Florida? Marco Rubio listens to the show. I'm sticking with it.
Only way that's possible is if he is a closeted Drew and Mike fan. And we don't know, and then he caught wind because of Drew and Mike.
I could see that. I could see little Marco listening to Drew and Mike. Then he would have to go back and listen to whatever episode I happen to say that in.
Sounds like a really bad Latino rapper.
Marco Rubio?
No, Lil Marco. Raj, by the way, if you ever want to start a rap career without anybody knowing, you can use that surname if you'd like. You can take that one.
No, Roger. I think Lil Roger would be fine, but it wouldn't be very Latino.
No, I think it has to be Lil Raj. It's got to be Lil Raj.
Lil Rogelio. And it would be ironic because Roger's a big guy. It'd be very ironic for him to use that word. Or to use that name, I should say.
You just basically explained away the whole joke of, like, calling a really tall guy tiny. I mean, now nobody can use that again because now everybody knows what the jig is. The jig's up.
It's up. We just exposed it.
That's why your name's Tiny? That's crazy.
Wow, it's getting late, and we started this show late, but there was a reason we started this show late. We got in the most ridiculous discussion about Batman.
Yeah?
I don't even remember how the fuck this fucking thing started.
I know exactly how it started.
How did it start?
It started because I showed you the clip of Michael Keaton giving the commencement speech.
Oh, yeah. Do you have it?
I'm sure I can find it again. It's not even the speech. It's literally the ending of the speech is what was fun. Let's see.
Michael Keaton, Batman, those two things go hand in hand. That's one of the first things you think of when you think of Michael Keaton. That and Beetlejuice, right?
100%. There are plenty of people that would think Beetlejuice
first. I can respect that.
I am 100% a Batman guy first.
Yeah.
For him.
I can respect that.
No debate there.
There was an article.
To remember,
Here we go. I got to back it up. All right. Go ahead, Matt. Or
No,
Matt.
go.
Who the hell are you? Matt? Mike?
I was going to say that I'm the big Marvel guy. I love all the Marvel movies, and you know that. I was reading an article for the Spider-Man Homecoming. It was the crossover with Sony and Marvel, since now Sony is kind of given Marvel the Spider-Man rights back. And the Vulture was the villain, played by Michael Keaton. I guess during breaks, cuts, and all that stuff, Keaton just kept reciting Batman lines to Tom Holland.
Oh, he must love Spider-Man. That role.
Oh, it sounded like it. Like he would just keep telling Tom Holland.
So why did he give up on it?
Batman.
What's the story behind Michael Keaton not wanting to do the third and fourth movie?
I thought it was creative differences between Tim Burton and Warner Brothers.
Tim Burton walked away, but why did Michael Keaton have to walk away?
He probably didn't want to do it with somebody other than Burton.
That could be
I'll
true.
believe that one. Because I do believe that he was also signed on for the third, and when shit broke down between Tim Burton, or it was Warner Brothers wanted to make more money based off of toys and
merchandise.
Exactly. Tim Burton is not cool with that. And so it was
This is merchandise from Batman '89.
Okay, think like small 6-inch action figures and all that stuff.
I had those.
There were definitely more toys for Batman Forever, Batman Robin.
Sure.
Than there was for Batman and Batman
Returns.
Warner Brothers wanted to make more money off of that than actually putting thought and creativity into.
So that's why they
movie.
flashied up Batman Forever so much more.
Yeah.
Because I love the Burton films.
They're awesome.
The Burton films were excellent.
I love the...
They had a very dark...
That Burton scenery.
Gritty feel to it.
I loved it. And Michael Keaton's still my Batman. But anyway, Dave, this is how we got started on the conversation. Where was this commencement
I've got
ceremony?
one more thing to
Kent
say,
State,
and it'll only take me a
which is his
second.
alma
I've
mater.
got 2 words that I want you all to remember. They're very important. And if I leave you with anything, I'm going to leave you with these 2 words. And those 2 words are, I'm Batman.
That's a mic drop right there.
That's fantastic.
Perfect, because he'll always be my Batman, always, forever. And even it's funny because that's what brought us into the conversation of what an underrated movie Batman Forever actually is.
Yes.
Because I don't think I've never heard of anybody actually expressing the fact that they had a problem with Val Kilmer as Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I thought he had Bruce Wayne down to a T. He was a great Bruce Wayne.
He was.
And Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face? Thought it was good?
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was fine. For what it was, for being a Joel Schumacher film.
But do you know that they actually recast Two-Face? If you go back to Batman and Batman Returns,
it was
Billy D. Williams.
It was Billy. It was a black Harvey Dent. That's right. Yeah, they recast everybody.
Yep.
Wow, black Two-Face. That'd probably be all right.
I
could live with Billy. But Billy D. Williams was too cool to be Two-Face.
Yes.
It was all right as Harvey Dent.
He probably couldn't give a psychopath, psychotic side that, what Harvey Dent Two-Face was. I couldn't see that out of Billy D. Williams.
And then Jim Carrey as the Riddler. Just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just fine. The only thing that made that movie suck, there was 2 things that made that movie suck. One was that stupid-ass Batmobile. And the other was, bringing
Robin in.
Okay, 3 things. I forgot that even happened because it didn't happen till the end of the movie.
He was in it for about a half hour.
He was in it as...
Well, they introduce his character.
As a punk kid, yeah.
And then, he's taken in
by
you
mean
Bruce
him,
Wayne.
officially becoming Robin?
Becoming Robin,
okay,
putting on the dumb suit with the eye mask that there's no way that thing stuck to his face. How the hell they make that thing stick to his face? But the other thing that made it suck was the Schumachering up of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
The music was goofy, and there were too many dumb bright lights. But the characters were fine. I was fine with the characters. And Dave, you were telling us a story about how it wasn't even supposed to be Jim Carrey that was the Riddler. Well, not that it wasn't supposed to be, but there was another audition.
Yeah, I can't remember. I want to use the right explanation here. I can't remember if it was that he was actually at one point was signed onto it, or if he had kind of verbally said he would do it. But one way, in some way, shape, or form, Robin Williams was actually going to do the Riddler, but wound up being contractually obligated to a different film, not anything to do with Marvel or DC or anything like that, just a different movie, and I don't even know what movie it was, that he wound up having to take all his time for that, which was shooting the same time. So he wasn't able to work out being Riddler. So went to Jim Carrey, and according to a new book that has just come out, which I'm actually intrigued to read. I think I should buy it and read it. But anyway, it's a book basically all about Robin Williams, written by a gentleman who I believe writes for the New York Times, I think. But part of this whole thing with Williams and Carrey is that, I guess as Carrey was coming up, if you think about it, there are some similarities to the way that Williams and Carey did comedy.
Both very physical comedians.
Extremely physical, very energetic, very much almost in a way you could say manic, right? In a way that worked, but it was a bit manic. So they had similarities in the way that they saw comedy. And as Carey started to have this insane commercial success, even though Robin Williams obviously had already been established as a tremendous comedian, he had already begun his movie career and had made a couple of really good ones already. But I guess just the young gun of Carey and him reaching these heights so quickly actually kind of was hard for Robin Williams to take in. It actually was very difficult for him to be able to comprehend the success of Carey and to deal with it. Well, I don't even know if you can use that. I mean, I guess in the true sense of the word, yeah, you'd have to say that. But that's not the way it came across. I don't think it was vindictively like he didn't want Jim Carrey to be successful. I think because of the similarity in their, I guess, mannerisms and kind of the way that their career arcs were going, it was just tough for him, which is just an interesting thing to hear.
So it's like, okay, if Robin Williams gets the role as the Riddler, does that change their career trajectories? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Because I think Batman Forever is kind of a forgotten movie. It's underrated in a lot of ways. It does suck in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna pretend like it doesn't. And another one of those ways was this. The fucking soundtrack. Ooh, does this make you think Batman? Oh God, yeah. Yeah, this is it. Val Kilmer making out with Nicole Kidman.
U2 also had a song on this soundtrack too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Used to be a gray tower alone on the sea. You came to light on the dark side.
This is not Batman in any way.
Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. That's the name of the song.
It was in the soundtrack?
Yes.
Was it played during the movie?
I think it's in the
end
credits.
I can bring you to a kiss from a rose on the way.
I would look it up right now. My phone just died. But I 99% positive. U2, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me.
I'm gonna watch the movie. I'm gonna watch that movie sometime before next Monday. And I'm gonna figure this out.
By the way, obviously I know what the discussion's about, so I knew you pulled this up because it was on this soundtrack. But as soon as you started playing it, I was like, I think we're just gonna listen to the soundtrack for He Got Game right now. And I don't even think that this song is on that soundtrack. That's just the vibe I get.
Pleasure my pain, baby.
Do you know who one of the Two-Face's hench women were?
Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
Drew Barrymore played Sugar.
Yep.
It was Sugar and Spice.
Yep.
There was no Everything Nice.
Was the other gal famous?
I don't remember.
I'm gonna find out.
I just remember Drew Barrymore. And that white... God, how do I remember that shit? that goofy white outfit. I would have
remembered everything about that other than her actual character name. I did not remember that.
That movie came out when I was about 10 years old. So I probably watched it a lot as a kid, like more than I even realized today.
Probably.
Because maybe that's why I think the movie's underrated. I hope not. I think it's legitimately underrated because you've got Batman 89, you've got Batman Returns, and those are the staples for that Burton Schumacher series.
Yep.
And it kind of makes Batman Forever seem a little bit worse maybe than it is. Now, Batman and Robin, we're gonna forget that movie ever happened.
Yeah.
Because that's a disaster. Other than, of course, Mr. Freeze. Played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, I did pull that up, didn't I?
You have to.
Is this it?
Yeah. It's only like a minute long.
Mr. Freeze. No, it's 4 minutes long. This must be the wrong one. Mr. Freeze Roundup.
Oh, yeah, that's not the right one.
The Iceman cometh. I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy. In this universe, there's only one absolute. Everything freezes. You are not sending me to the cooler. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! You feel it coming? The icy cold of space. Ah, after you're frozen, your icy tomb will plummet back to Gotham. Breathe well. Stay cool, bird boy. Can you be cold, Batman? You have 11 minutes to thaw the bird.
Breezy. I'm feeling
That's Vivica A. Fox.
I find that unlikely.
Holy shit.
Oh, shit, that is.
My passion thaws for my bride alone.
Ooh. Talk about your cold shoulder.
Frosty! Unless the city bows to my demands, it's winter forever here in Gotham. I hate when people talk during the movie. All right, everyone, chill. Chill. Pheromone dust, designed to heat a man's blood. It doesn't work on a cold-hearted. Now, if you please. Cool party.
Commissioner, you have 11 minutes to thaw these people.
It's a cold town.
Just hearing George Clooney. Like, that's what it was. I think that might be the number one thing that brought out the shitty of that movie, was that when George Clooney would speak as Batman, it was just fucking George Clooney.
Yeah.
There's no difference. It's not like Batman. It's just George Clooney coming out of a Batman suit.
So I figured out who Spice was.
Yeah?
Debbi Mazar.
Nobody knows who that is.
No, I'm going to show you a picture, and you'll recognize her. She's been in 1,000 things.
Yep.
But she's not, like, a well-known actress.
Let me see.
You'll know who she is.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even mean that in the sense that you could tell me right now a movie that you know she was in, other than what I just showed you.
I'm going to have to remember that to post on social media so people know what the fuck we're talking about.
That could just be the name of the show. Who the hell is Debbi Mazar?
let me write that down.
In all those one-liners, I was just waiting to hear Arnold say, "Get to the chopper." Get to the ice chopper.
She was in Goodfellas. She plays
She
plays Sandy, the chick that Ray Liotta's making the cutting up the coke with. The cokehead that was cutting up the coke for Henry Hill, the brunette, in Goodfellas. Come on, Mike, you look like you're still confused.
I'm ashamed to say this, but I've never seen Goodfellas.
What?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Oh God, get out of here!
That's why I'm saying I'm
We're
ashamed
done
to see
here.
it.
Wow. He's seen every fucking Marvel movie.
I see a lot of movies, but I've never seen Goodfellas.
Never seen Goodfellas.
I'm sorry. I will make sure
before next Monday
to watch it this week.
Yes.
All right.
For the love of God.
All right. Well, we're probably not even going to have a show next Monday.
That's probably true. It is Memorial Day.
But
I guess I should tell Abby she'll be on next Thursday, not Monday.
I will make sure to watch Goodfellas.
Yes.
If you want, you can have a quiz. You can quiz me. But yeah, I'm ashamed to say I've never seen it.
You're not going to regret it. Is there anything we missed? Marco Rubio listens to the show. Batman Forever. I think that's it. Shaq helped four men sink.
I really love that you wrote down Marco Rubio listens to the show.
He does listen to the show. We heard it. He repeated me verbatim. Verbatim, Dave.
I think you might have too strong an idea about your own opinions.
That's exactly what I said! Colin Kaepernick's one of the best 64 quarterbacks in the world.
I understand, but I'm just saying, I don't think you reinvented the wheel with that statement, Dan.
But nobody says it like that. People just say Colin Kaepernick's good enough to play in the NFL. Nobody says the words verbatim, he's one of the 64 best quarterbacks in the world. Who else besides me has said that verbatim?
I don't know. I don't do enough research to know the answer to that.
Well, there you go. That's all you needed to know.
Unless somebody somewhere who's a listener posted up that exact quote on Google, and when Marco Rubio was researching for that question that he knew he was going to get, he said something about how many quarterbacks, and it came up, Colin Kaepernick's one of the 64 best quarterbacks in the world. He was like, that's it.
And then if you look under that, it says Dan Griffin, in quotes.
So
it's right in the New York Times.
In Dan's world, Marco Rubio has a picture of Dan on his billboard at home. Yep. He prays that he lives up to your standards.
As long as he's not pounding off to it, I'm good. Even if he is, I'm fine with that.
Even
too.
If he is,
he's got a picture of Dan Griffin in his cigar lounge at home. That's what he.
Is cigar lounge a euphemism? All right, we've got to terminate this podcast. You've been listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Mike Tripp, myself, Dan Griffin. Please go to sportsradiodetroit.com. Check out all the other wonderful content. Roger, I apologize ahead of time for not pimping the network a little better. I think you know that I do that most often. We'll get back to it on Thursday. David Faze, Mike Tripp, myself, Dan Griffin. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. sportsradiodetroit.com. And we are out of here.
A drug that's the high and not the pill. But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, I can bring you to